run in a 5-run ninth. While in game 2, it was Rays shortstop Ray Ordonez flexing his muscles with an 8th-inning blast in an eventual 16-inning Boston win. Last night, the Red Sox got a lift from catcher Jason Varitek to take game 3. Today, lefty Nick Bierbrod tries to gain the Rays a split. The Rays and the Red Sox on Fox Sports Net next. Continue their opening homestand as we greet you from St. Petersburg. Game 4 as the Tampa Bay Devil Rays play host to the Boston Red Sox. Hi again, everybody, and welcome to an afternoon of Devil Rays baseball. I'm Dwayne Statz. Great to have you with us as the Rays and the Red Sox square off for the 4th and final game of this series. Rays winners in exciting fashion here opening night with that 5-run 9th inning to post a 6-4 victory. Since then, the Red Sox with 2 wins, one coming in that 5-hour and 15-minute marathon 16-inning contest as the Red Sox defeated the Devil Rays 9-8, and last night Boston posting a 7-5 win over the Rays. Well, a new face in Lou Piniella's lineup here for the final game of this series. Damian Easley, who was signed and reported to the ballpark last night, is in the lineup for Lou Piniella. He will hit 6th. Joined now by Joe McGrain. Joe, the Devil Rays are looking at this guy, Damian Easley. Number 1 is a good athlete. Number 2 is a guy who can turn the double play at second base, and they hope he can come back from some injuries that certainly have been a big problem for him over the past couple of years.
Well, I was fortunate enough to play with Damian with the Angels, and I really saw a guy that had a lot of pop. That's certainly good for the Rays. He's cheap, and I think probably the most important thing you look at for a guy like Damian Easley, can he stay healthy? If he can stay healthy, he can really do some things for the Rays, and he still has speed, so speed's still a big part of the lineup. I think it's a great acquisition.
So he's part of the 25-man roster. The Devil Rays did have to make some moves to accommodate the addition of Damian Easley. So Brent Abernathy has been optioned to Durham, and Jason Tyner, to make room on the 40-man roster, has been designated for assignment. A couple of other moves. Hector Luna goes back to the Indians. He was the Rule 5 player, who spent the spring with the Devil Rays in camp, the young shortstop. And Al Levine, who was a member of the world champion Anaheim Angels, made over 50 appearances for the Angels last year, has been signed to a minor league contract. George Lombard outrighted to Durham. Hans Smith outrighted to Orlando. Pitching matchup this afternoon, the Devil Rays will have the left-hander Nick Bierbrod on the hill, and he will be opposed by Boston left-hander Casey Fossum in the wrap-up game of this series. There is action elsewhere. Minnesota trying to remain unbeaten in the American League, off to a 2-0 lead in Detroit. The Reds still winless in their new ballpark, and they trail Pittsburgh over in the National League in the 5th inning. That's 7-3. Cubs have an early lead on the Mets, St. Louis, and Milwaukee. No score in the 3rd, and the Phillies and the Marlins underway, and they are scoreless in the 2nd inning. Now, the Devil Rays, through the first 3 games of this young season, 1-2, but they have received pretty good offense and some pretty good pitching out of the bullpen. We'll be taking a look at the performance last night out of the bullpen of Travis Harper, but first, here's the Just for Men hair color rejuvenating play. This one comes courtesy of Aubrey Huff, whose home run put the Rays back in the game in the 5th inning last night. And that's the Just for Men rejuvenating play. Just for Men, more than a hair color, it's the Rejuvenator. Welcome back to Tropicana Field as the Tampa Bay Devil Rays play host to the Boston Red Sox. Wrapping up the first series on this opening homestand, the Yankees and the Orioles will also be in. Well, last night the Devil Rays and the Red Sox moved into Game 3 of this series, a game in which actually both managers and pitching coaches were looking for a lot of innings from their starting pitchers after that 5-hour, 15-minute, 16 inning contest the night before. Well, the Devil Rays did get 5 innings from their lefty starter, Jim Parquet, and they were most pleased with what they got from the bullpen. Travis Harper was a part of that contest the night before, but only for 1 pitch and 2/3 of an inning. Last night, he gave the Devil Rays 4 solid innings, allowing just 1 hit. He struck out the first 2 hitters he faced, Bill Miller and Todd Walker. Went on to strike out 6. He did not walk anyone and gave the Devil Rays 4 scoreless innings. It was Harper who first caught the attention of new pitching coach Chris Bosio this spring with, number one, his demeanor and the command and movement, late movement of his pitches. And so, at least through that outing last night, 4 superb innings, the faith shown in him by Chris Bosio, well placed at this point. And this afternoon, the wrap-up game of the series, the Devil Rays against the Boston Red Sox. A pair of lefties go at it. We're just a few moments away from first pitch, and we'll be back with more from
for the land of the free and the home of the brave.
From Tropicana Field in St. Petersburg, the Tampa Bay Devil Rays and the Boston Red Sox in Game 4 of the series today on Fox Sports Net. Hi again, everybody. I'm Dwayne Stats with Joe McGrain. Great to have you with us. Devil Rays and the Red Sox go at it again today. And for the Devil Rays, left-hander Nick Bierbrod goes back to the mound. And Joe, what a story this is. In early June last year, a shooting victim, 2 slugs that still remain in his body. That after a wild, and we do mean wild, spring. And here he is, less than a year after being assaulted and shot, pitching in the major leagues.
That really is the amazing part. And if you ask Nick Bierbrod, really just amazing for him to be alive at this point. He has really put all of the control issues behind him, and he's going to have a good start in this game today because the bullpen really has been tired lately. They've been throwing off the 16-inning game a couple of games ago, and great performance last night but by Travis Harper. But good starting pitching is what the Rays are definitely going to need today. Nick Bierbrod has all the stuff that you look for in a top-line starter. A good quality live fastball to go with a tight breaking ball, which should serve him well not only against the right-handed hitters but the left-handed hitters as well. I think that slider is a big key, and everything really kind of opens up from there, and hopefully that good moving fastball will be present very early in this afternoon's game.
You know, this spring the offense was a point of concern. A couple of things have happened in the first 3 games of this series for the Rays. The offense showing some signs of life, pretty good life at that, and the bullpen has been very good.
We were wondering where were all the runs going to come from coming out of spring training. They have done a good job at that, but starting pitching, if you can get all these things put together, this is how you really start to put a stretch of games together and go on a winning streak. It's easy for your club to look good when your starting pitching is good. Hopefully that's going to start today with Nick Bierbrod. They've been running, they've been putting a lot of pressure on the defense with stolen bases, and it looks like that type of lineup, especially at the top with Carl Crawford and Rocco Baldelli, that's going to be able to put a lot of pressure on the pitching staffs around the American League very early, and that should serve the middle and bottom of the lineup very well.
Now our pitching matchup here this afternoon, actually 2 left-handers. As we mentioned, it will be Nick Bierbrod for the Rays and Casey Fossum for Boston.
Interesting thing about Casey Fossum, came out of spring training with a lot of command issues. He's one of those guys who's very slight to build at about 160 pounds. 2 skinny left-handers going today. Good breaking ball today from Nick Bierbrod, and the sweeping curve from Casey Fossum should get it done. And now to turn it over to my partner, who is entering his 27th season in the major leagues and still reasonably young, here's Dwayne Stats.
Thank you very much, son. Well, the 2 lefties right there. It'll be Nick Bierbrod and Casey Fossum on the hill. Storyline for today, as we alluded, the Devil Ray offense has been very aggressive. 8 stolen bases for the Rays here in the first 3 games of the year, and that's not unusual when it comes to a Lou Piniella managed ball club. 5 homers as well through 3. And of course, Nick Bierbrod out there in a regular season game for the first time since October. of 2001. Let's take a look at the Toyota starting lineup. Boston will have Johnny Damon to lead it off, followed by Bill Miller and Nomar Garcia-Parra. In the DH role today is Manny Ramirez. Kevin Millar, who won that extra inning game with a home run, is at first base. Shea Hillenbrand at third. Jeremy Giambi's in left. Trop Nixon in right. And Jason Varitek will do the catching and bat ninth.
The tall left-hander Nick Bierbrot on the hill this afternoon for the Rays. And as we take a quick look at the scouting report, Bierbrot's the type of pitcher that has very good quality stuff, as we mentioned. Good moving fastball, good tight breaking ball. Must repeat his delivery, as is the case with most lanky pitchers. Hard to time that delivery sometimes. He needs an extended outing today to give the bullpen a break. Defense for the Devil Rays. Travis Lee over at first base. Dwayne, my mic's not working too well, so you take it.
All right, we've got Easley, the newcomer, at second base. Around the infield at shortstop, Ray Ordonez. Aubrey Huff's at third. In the outfield for the Rays, Carl Crawford in left with Rocco Baldelli in center. Ben Grieve is in right field. Toby Hall's going to do the catching for Nick Bierbrot. All set to play. Johnny Damon steps in there, and this game is underway on time. First pitch a bit inside, 1-0. Bierbrot this spring notched 16 innings. He walked 11 and struck out 11. And those numbers pretty good all spring, a little inflated late in the spring. 2 balls and a strike. But as far as Nick Bierbrot is concerned, that wild streak, the control problems behind him, and the shooting incident behind him as well. He has been set to move forward and has done that all spring.
Well, the other thing, Dwayne, he's put back all of the weight that he had lost through all of that crisis, and actually has all of his strength back. Feels great. And the only reminder to that shooting is the big scar in his abdomen.
Oh, he didn't miss by much with that one. Just a little low, I guess.
That was a good pitch. It was a real good pitch. Bring him up.
So the count is full, and here it is to Johnny Damon. Ground ball. That'll be handled by Lee, and he makes the catch for the out. You know, we saw it the other night on a ground ball that Lee had expected to come up a little bit, and he's had to make a little adjustment. It's a new home field for him. He's an excellent first baseman and makes that adjustment very well, but it is something that from time to time a new look will affect the way he may approach a ground ball. Bill Miller takes this one on the outside edge for a strike.
Well, like most good infielders, Dwayne, he's going to make those adjustments pretty quickly because he has very good hands, very soft hands. And everyone in the infield certainly appreciates that.
0-2. Miller over that one and a bit out in front. Well, Lee is one of the big reasons of the improved defense of this ball club. Chop to the right side for Easley. He's got this one in the flip to first. 2 away. So look at Damian Easley in his Devil Ray debut. 33-year-old infielder. Came up through the Angels system. You know, one of the things, he not only ran into some injuries, I think, over in Detroit, but the move into Comerica Park. They moved the fence in this year, but you know, there's a guy who used left center field a lot, and that was a very deep park.
Well, look at the road numbers for him as well. He had 280 on the road. That's certainly a great sign just in and of itself.
1 strike to count to Nomar Garcia-Parra. 0-2 with that little hopper foul.
Well, it's very early, but Nick Bierbrot looks very good with his delivery. Has good pace, good tempo. He seems to have that good look in his eye.
This one fouled out of play, holding the count at 2 strikes. Well, there's Chris Bosio, the Rays pitching coach. You talk about an active pitching coach. He certainly is that. One ball, 2 strikes.
Everyone this year has a clean slate with Boz as the pitching coach. May have been things dating back into last year, but as far as Chris Bosio, these pitchers, it all started this spring, the year 2003. He's going on what he sees right here and right now.
Count still 1 ball, 2 strikes. And he's very engaging. Not only that's kind of his nature, but with his pitchers as well. They're not going to go through stages where the communication between a pitcher and a pitching coach will be limited. It will not be that way with Chris Bosio.
And it will always be intense.
Garciaparra hit by that pitch. So with 2 outs, Garciaparra goes to first.
Now what Nick Bierbrot wanted to do with the next hitter coming up, who is as good against left-handed pitching as anyone in baseball.
Manny Ramirez, the designated hitter in this game. Ramirez has been out there in left field for most of this series, but DHing today. Shot right back into center field. Baldelli back to the track, is there and grabs it to retire the side. Bottom of the first coming, no score. Nick Bierbrot in the Rays dugout following a scoreless top of the first. Rays are coming into head against Casey Fossum. Check out Toyota's starting lineup for the Rays. Carl Crawford leads off, followed by Rocco Baldelli and Aubrey Huff. Terry Shumpert, the DH, hits cleanup ahead of Travis Lee and David Easley. Ben Grieve in right, Toby Hall hitting 8th, and Ray Ordonez at short, batting 9th.
Casey Fossum on the hill for the Red Sox this afternoon. We'll get to the scouting report in just a bit.
And the first pitch, Carl Crawford takes it down. A ball to no strikes. Carl had a couple hits in the ball game last night. He's had a good start here in this series. 1-1 to count.
Well, if he gets 2 hits every night, I think he's going to be just fine.
Well, he's averaging that and a stolen base in every game. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
There's a look at that big sweeping curve there from Casey Fossum. He has very good arm strength. He's real skinny, slight of build, could probably walk through a harp without making a sound, but he has been battling with his command in the spring.
Well, he's given up a lot of hits through the spring. Take a look at his numbers from last year.
Well, look at the strikeouts to walks there, Dwayne. Just 30 walks and 101 strikeouts. That's a pretty good ratio.
And he throws the fastball past Crawford. And that's the first out.
Let's go around the horn and set the defense for the Red Sox behind Casey Fossum. Over at first base, the former Marlin Kevin Millar. Bill Miller is at second. Nomar Garciaparra at short. Shea Hillenbrand at third. Jeremy Giambi out in left. Johnny Damon in center, Trot Nixon in right, and Jason Varitek behind the plate.
Look out. This one got Aubrey Huff, a deflecting blow, a foul ball off the bat of Baldelli. And Aubrey Huff, who was in the on-deck circle, had that ball strike him. Oh, we hope he is all right, and it brings memories of last year. You know, he came to the Devil Rays very late last year because of an injury he sustained in Durham, and apparently he is all right.
Looks like he's going to back up a little bit now. Pretty wise considering how he was like 30 feet.
There's a shot toward right center field with some good carry. It's going to one-hop the fence. Baldelli already around second and on his way for three, and he is in there. A triple for Rocco Baldelli. Man, can that kid fly.
He can really motor. You're absolutely right, Dwayne. Everything was great until he decided to slide into third head first, but beautiful stroke right through the hitting zone on a little sweeping breaking ball that stayed up, and this kid has got an extra gear as well, and you saw it going right around second and easily into third.
Well, he starts the year with a 4-game hitting streak, picking up his first big league triple with that shot up the alley into right center field. Now here's Aubrey Huff.
Maybe lay down.
And that pitch nipped the edge. Strike one. Aubrey coming off the 23 home runs last year. He didn't get his first one for the Rays until the end of May last year as a result of that injury and time in the minor leagues and the injury. That came on May the 29th. 1-1 to count. He started to go and could not check on the appeal down to Hunter Wendelstedt.
The other thing that was so impressive, Dwayne, about Rocco Baldelli's speed in legging out that triple is how tight the turns were, hitting both first and second.
Up sends a fly ball down the left side. That's going to wind up out of play, however.
All it does is take time, extra time when you're making those wide sweeping turns. Let's watch him run here. Run the route perfectly and run it quickly. There's his I'm going to third base decision.
And a wave and a miss. Veritek will have to go down to first. So Huff is out on strikes. Veritek to Millar. Baldelli still at third now. And here's Terry Shumpert. Shumpert hitting cleanup for the first time in his career. He's the designated hitter against the lefty Fossum. And the pitch is in there for a strike.
Well, this goes to show you some of Lou Pinella's bench flexibility. All spring wanted another right-handed hitter going up against the lefties, and here's the perfect place for it. Of course, Terry Shumpert already a home run. Opening night.
Rays with an opportunity to break out in front, but Fossum is ahead in the count of Shumpert 0-2. This one is wide. A ball, 2 strikes. Fossum 1-1 lifetime against the Rays, including a victory last year. He had that long relief stint of 7 innings against the Rays. Actually gave up 7 runs against the Rays in just under 14 innings total work against them last year, but a good relief stint and a victory without a loss. And Shumpert almost hit by that pitch as the bat went flying, and the count is 2-2.
Well, as we have said before, these two teams don't like each other very much, and Nomar Garciaparra was hitting the top of the first, so I think that's kind of an answer to Garciaparra getting hit. And Shea Hillenbrand had drawn the ire of some of the people on the Rays bench for his antics a few games ago.
Wave and a miss. Shumpert is out of there, and the Rays leave a man at the end of an inning. No score. Second inning underway as Kevin Millar goes after the first pitch and lofts a high fly ball to center. Handle out there by Rocco Baldelli. And that's the first out. One pitch, one out. Every weeknight, Fox Sports Net delivers the latest news and highlights from the hottest skating, snowboarding, surfing, motocross, and BMX competitions around the globe. Get extreme. Watch 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 today at 5:30 on Fox Sports Net. Jay Hillenbrand taking a pitch outside. 1-0. Fastball away a bit. 2-0. Beerbot falls behind. 3-0. Last time out there in a regular season game for Beerbot, he beat the Yankees 4-1 here at Tropicana Field on October 4th of 2001. And then came to camp last year with the idea that he would be a regular member of the rotation, but ran into control problems. Extreme control problems. Ordonez from shortstop handles this one, and Hillenbrand is the second out. And then after he had been assigned to the minor leagues, and at that point thinking he had pretty much conquered those control problems, he was at Charleston, South Carolina, when he was the victim of a shooting while going through a drive-through restaurant.
Well, I think the lesson we all learned from that is at 2:30 in the morning, going through the drive-through, one, you could get shot, and two, the food is always bad. But it tastes good at that time of night.
Here's Jeremy Giambi taking a strike. Foul ball. You know, the amazing thing when Beerbot recounts that story is after he was shot, he did not immediately lose consciousness. He knew
all the way to the hospital.
Yeah, fortunately, they were close to a hospital. 0-2 the count. You can only imagine what goes through your mind at a time like that. 1 ball, 2 strikes. And here he is less than a year later pitching again in the major leagues.
Amazingly enough, the 2 slugs still remain in his liver.
This one is down. 2-2.
Really came about a millimeter from not making it through it at all. That's a good pitch right there.
Man.
He's calling that pitch out. That certainly doesn't look out.
I don't either. I'm very observant.
Ring him up.
Here is the 3-2. He got him there on that inside edge to retire the side. Bottom of the second coming, no score. Travis Lee leading off, takes the first pitch too low. A ball, no strikes. Lee hitting 5th in Lou Pinella's lineup as we head into the bottom of the second inning against the Red Sox this afternoon. 1-1. Lee, then Easley, followed by Ben Grieve. We'll take the count to 2 balls and a strike. Well, the series last year a little lopsided when it comes to wins and losses between these 2 teams, but it does seem that the series over the last couple seasons has been very contentious between these 2 clubs, I guess you could say.
Now, to quote the late great Jack Buck, it's very easy to see that these 2 teams do not like one another.
Lee started to go, checked in time, and so the count goes to 3-2. And in varying seasons, last year the Rays led the league in hit batsmen, and the Red Sox have held that distinction as well over the last 2 or 3 years. And it would seem that the big part of those hit batters have come in the season series between the two teams. Lee is out on strikes to start the second inning, and we've had a couple of those near incidents today in this series already.
Well, Pedro, here he is taking a shot at Al Martin, and he also hit another batter, Ben Greet, but that was on a breaking pitch. There's a little inside fastball to Shea Hillenbrand, and then a knockdown to the youngster Rocco Baldelli. Jeremy Giambi gets flamed, as well as Nomar today. And Terry Shumpert gets brushed back, gets his tower buzzed.
Here's Damian Easley going after the first pitch and lifting a high pop foul. Millar is after it and almost overran it, but reaches back to make the grab. So Easley going after Fossum's first pitch, fouls out. So a strikeout and that pop foul, 2 gone.
A little tougher to track the ball up in the roof today. A day game, bright sunlight outside. And sometimes, I think a lot of times we've seen it the 5 years we've been doing games here, that I don't think the visiting team gets comfortable until about maybe the second or the third game of the series.
Now here it is, the 4th game of the series, and Millar is still not comfortable. Gree pops it up, foul ball, and Fossum on the run off the mound makes the catch on this one. Through 2, no score. We're scoreless. On to the 3rd we go. The Devil Rays and the Red Sox. Nick Bierbrot, 24-year-old lefty, doing the pitching for the Rays. He'll face the left-handed hitting Trot Nixon. Then Jason Varitek, and the top of the order, Johnny Damon. Foul ball in on Nixon.
It's another one of those foul balls there, Dwayne, that the on-deck hitter was in danger. That ball went right by the shoulder of Jason Varitek.
Rocco Baldelli fouled one off Aubrey Huff in the first inning. Foul ball, and the count is 0-2. It was Aubrey last year after he had been sent to Durham. Missed the first 3 weeks of the season because of a fractured right cheekbone.
That looks like he was still scratching it there, Dwayne.
He suffered that in a workout before the season started. A ball, 2 strikes, the count to Nixon.
Low and inside. That's all you got to do.
Two. Bierbrot's done some pretty close pitches in the first 3 innings here. First time through the order.
Not a liberal interpretation of the strikeout or strike zone by Dan Lasanga.
Fly ball into left. That backs Crawford up a couple steps. Carl is there and makes the grab. So 1 away in the 3rd. You can feed your need for NASCAR speed every weeknight with Totally NASCAR. A ticket to trackside news and info regarding America's fastest growing spectator sport, Totally NASCAR. Tonight at 6 on Fox Sports Net. Jason Varitek doing the catching. He homered off the catwalk in the game last night in the 5th inning, and that, as it turns out, made the difference. A 3-run homer in the 5th, and the Red Sox won that game 7-5. Chopper to 3rd. That's going to be foul. Aubrey Huff letting the umpires take care of their duties there and not playing umpire himself. Went ahead and made that play. But it's a foul ball, and so the count is 1-1.
Well, Aubrey has shown the ability to know when not to think, and that was one of those occasions. Just play it automatically, trust those good reactions, and figure out how it's going to be interpreted later.
You know, when spring training started, I'm not sure many people, including Aubrey, thought he would be at third base come opening day.
A surprise to all of us.
Ground ball, and that's past a diving hop and up the left field line all the way to the corner. Crawford plays the carom, and Varitek has himself a double.
Well, Jason Varitek is so valuable to Grady Little's bunch. A switch hitting catcher gives them a lot of flexibility. Hammers his pitch right down the line, stayed with it very well. The left side of the infield should be very busy this afternoon for the Rays. Nick Bierbrot, the left-hander. Most of left-handers get their outs on the left side of the field.
Here's Johnny Damon. Red Sox with a scoring opportunity off of their first hit of the game. The two-base hit by Varitek. One strike to count on Damon. One and one. Puts Bierbrot up in the count. A ball, 2 strikes. One on with 1 out. 1-2 the count. Damon, a little soft liner down to third. Broken bat in the process, and Aubrey Huff takes care of that one.
2 at-bats this afternoon for Johnny Damon, and Nick Bierbrot has pitched him very well. Made some good pitches, got him to ground out to Travis Lee his first time up, and breaks his bat on this soft liner to Aubrey Huff. Breaking ball going away.
Not much left of that bat.
Yep, more firewood for the offseason.
Well, Bill Miller is the hitter. This one too high. A ball and no strikes. To this point, all spring and in this game, you know, it's kind of interesting to see what you expect from Bierbrot come back from the obstacles he's had to overcome. And the velocity is not quite what it was when he came over from Arizona. There's a fair ball and headed toward the corner. Varitek will score, and Miller goes into second. So the Red Sox break out in front 1-0 with a pair of 2 base hits in the third.
Dwayne, that's one of those pitches that it's a running fastball grip, meaning it's designed to sink. And sometimes when you throw that towards the inner half of the plate, it ends up tailing back towards the middle and into the barrel. Easy to get extended on a pitch low and out over the plate. It's a great pitch. It's an out pitch when it's on the outer half of the plate, but when it starts on the inner half and moves towards the middle, it can be hit pretty hard.
There's Nomar Garciaparra. Bounds it right back into the screen for a strike.
Dwayne, I don't think you worry as much about Bierbrot's velocity as you would say a right-hander, because he's a tall, lanky guy. He sinks the ball very well. I think if he's throwing anywhere around 88 to 90, he's getting real good life on that sinker ball, and that's something that he can become real consistent with. So as far as, you know, throwing 94 and sometimes 95 like we used to see him, it'd be great to have that in reserve.
The 0-1, and the foul ball was about to follow that up by making the point that coming out of what he has suffered through, the injury and the wildness and all of that, and now the gunshot wounds, coming back and throwing most of the time, topping out in the 89 to 90 mile per hour mark, just for the reason you pointed out, might not be all that bad. I think a 0-2 count here. Down and away, 1 ball and 2 strikes. And that sometimes your approach changes to be more of a pitcher than a young guy who knows you can go out there and throw 93 or 94 at will. So we'll see. Wave and a miss, popping away from Hall, and a wide throw to first. That's going to allow another run to score. Hall made a desperation throw trying to get Garciaparra, and that allows Miller to score to make it 2-0. Big mistake right there.
Yes, it was, and considering how off balance that Toby Hall was, he was trying to get the third out of the inning. You get that, you're out of it. But in the position that he had to throw from, I still don't think he's able to get Garciaparra with an accurate throw. And in his haste allows Miller to waltz on in.
Well, that's a strikeout, a wild pitch, and an error, allowing the run to score. And here's Ramirez. Pitch is down, a ball and no strikes.
Well, the other thing that gets Manny Ramirez to the plate, anytime he's coming to the plate, regardless of who's on against lefties, he's a dangerous, dangerous hitter.
So Garciaparra aboard at first, back in with that flip over there by Bierbrot. Varitek and Miller have scored the runs for the Red Sox in the inning. And a strike on the fastball in the upper 80s. Ball sharply back through the middle and into center. Garciaparra will stop, and Ramirez has himself a base hit. Red Sox have 3 all in this inning.
The other thing that happens when you kick the ball around a bit is it also causes that starting pitcher to throw more pitches and pitches that he wouldn't have to make. And I think that's something that if you're Lou Piniella, you're concerned about, given the fact that it's going to take a few more days to get that bullpen back on track and refreshed. So Lou definitely has an eye towards getting a lot of innings out of Bierbrot today.
Yes, he does, as he did with Parquet last night and the 4 innings from Harper. There were 566 pitches thrown in that 16-inning game the other night.
Well, we saw them all. I was thinking there was about 564, but
it was even worse than you thought.
Yep. Glad to be duly corrected.
Kevin Millar up there now with men at first and second. Bierbrot calling Hall out there for a little conversation.
Trying to iron out some of the glitches with the signs with a runner on second base, and you're wary of those experienced guys when they're on second because they're very good at tipping location, which side of the plate that the pitches are going to end up on. And if a hitter knows who zone hits, what side of the plate the ball is going to be on, it greatly enhances his chances.
First pitch to Millar is down, a ball, no strikes.
Sanga's been calling that pitch down all afternoon, and I still think that's a good pitch. You want that pitch, especially if you're a sinker ball pitcher.
Takes the count to 2-0. Well, if not for the wild pitch strikeout, Bierbrot would be out of this inning, trying to pitch out of trouble in the third. Two and one. Ramirez singled into center. Garciaparra reached on the wild pitch strikeout. And a wave and a miss to square the count. So now it's 2-2. Red Sox with 2 runs home, 2 men on with 2 outs, and a 2-2 count to Millar. Millar left Florida, by the way, as the all-time leading hitter for the Marlins. Fouls this one back. The lifetime average over there even better than Jeff Conine,
who was the original Marlin.
It appeared for a while that Millar would be headed to Japan, but with the Red Sox instead. Gives them a pretty good bat. The 2-2. Fouling in behind Mike Cubbage and beyond.
Well, he thought Japan was going to be his only place to play. He was told by the Marlins that there was no interest in any of the other major league clubs, and then found out that Boston was interested, and said, well, you know, I think I'd rather play in Boston than I would all the way across the Pacific.
The Junichi Dragons, I think. So here he is with the Red Sox. And a liner into center, a base hit. Garcia Parra's on his way to the plate. He will score. Ramirez heads to third. Millar drives in the run. And now it's a 3-0 ball game. So Millar, who won the extra inning game the other night with his first home run, drives in a run with a solid single into center.
Well, Dwayne, you go back to the wild pitch and the throwing error by Toby Hall, allowing Nomar to reach base. And to this point, there's 10 extra pitches and counting now that Nick Bierbrot is going to have to make. And really, that's like a whole other inning.
First and third, Shea Hillenbrand stepping in. Set back foot out of there, ball 1. Bierbrot facing the Red Sox for the first time in his career. And he gets Hillenbrand to chase this one, and as it pops away, Millar alertly moves into second base.
Well, if you're going to advance on the ball in the dirt, you have to make an instantaneous decision. It was a great read by Millar. Be able to see it right here. He was on the move immediately.
So the second wild pitch of the inning, charged. This one allowing the move up, and a good piece of base running by Millar. 1-2. Matter of fact, both these wild pitches, hitters have chased them. That will carry foul into the seats. The count is still 1-2 on Hillenbrand. Hillenbrand, the young third baseman, actually made a start at first base last night. A lot of talk over the winter about him going to the New York Mets. Ball lined into the seats. He'll check that bat. It sounded as if he may have broken it. So a cracked bat. Hillenbrand after a new one.
A lot of extra pitches being thrown to this point, and it is cause for concern with Bierbrot making his first start. Actually, he had his spikes on and almost was brought into the game a few nights ago, that 16-inning affair, because the Rays were running out of pitching in the bullpen.
Hillenbrand with a new bat. See if Bierbrot can get him to put an end to the top of the third. this one out of play. Liner into left. That's going to be in there for a base hit. Backhanded by Crawford. Ramirez scores. Millar's on his way to the plate as Hillenbrand drives in a pair. And the Red Sox make it a 5-run inning in the third. Well, he was almost out of this inning, allowing just the single run. But that is history now.
Well, you're right, Dwayne. Look how it's ballooned from possibly just the one run now to 4 additional ones. A lot of pitches here in the third.
Giambi goes after the first pitch and pops it to the left side for Ordonez at short. 9 men come to the plate. Bottom of the third coming. 5-0 Boston. 5-0 ball game. Rays down early as we head into the bottom of the third. Toby Hall leads off. And the pitch is down. A ball and no strikes. Well, a couple wild pitches. And the error. And the Red Sox turned 5 hits into 5 runs. And you're right, there were 18 additional pitches after the wild pitch and the error that you figure could have ended the inning.
It's almost 2 innings basically of pitching. 18 pitches. I think in a perfect scenario you'd have Beerbrot going 6, maybe 7 if the pitch count was down, but that pitch count is escalated quickly from all those deliveries in the third.
Hall takes a strike.
Around 36, 37 pitches perhaps in the third.
Hall drives this one back into left center field, and that baby's going to get out of here. So Hall ahead in the count. Got the bat head out and drilled it into the seats in left center field to put the Devil Rays on the board. Toby's first home run of the year, and it comes to open the bottom of the third.
Good for Toby Hall. It's very early in the season, but he's been kind of feeling for the ball the last 3 games. Good to see him really turn it loose on a sinking fastball, low middle. I was going to say, sometimes when you get down by 4 or 5 runs early, it's almost a good thing because you just relax and start swinging the bats, and the next thing you know, you're right back in it. You're down far enough to where it's almost good.
Well, the Rays have played a little catch-up in this series. They also have taken the lead a couple of times. There's a shot by Ordonez. He hit the home run here the other night to tie the game in the 8th inning. That one way foul. Sort of tomahawked that one. 1-1 the count.
No, it's easy to see. It doesn't have to be a strike for Ray Ordonez to take a hack at it. He is very aggressive.
And there's a base hit through the hole. So Ordonez hits his way aboard. And the Rays with a homer and now the single, trying to create a little offensive excitement. So the runner at first and nobody out. Here's Carl Crawford. Well, last night the Rays jumped to a lead but could not hold it. So they'll try to turn the tables on the Red Sox today. Crawford takes a strike. Breaking pitch in there from Casey Fossum.
That sweeping breaking ball is really tough on the left-handed hitters. He's getting that pitch over the plate, and he wasn't this spring. He's getting that pitch over the plate. That makes that fastball very sneaky.
This one down, 1-1. You know, the Rays coming back here with a run so far and trying to build a threat against Fossum in the third. You really get the sense that That's going to be the MO of this ball club this year. Even when they get down, it's going to be a scrappy bunch trying to claw their way back into games and hold leads.
It's going to be, you're right, it's going to be a very scrappy bunch. I think the one thing that Lou Piniella concerned about is his team is a little bit left-handed with the regulars, and that's why Schumpert and Easley, key additions.
It's going to be out of play. You know, and especially we saw Schumpert come off the bench the other night, hit a home run in his first appearance in a Rays uniform, and Easley the same way. I mean, here's a guy who, except for the last year or so when he had a lot of injuries and wound up playing in Comerica Park, a guy who has double-digit power. I mean, there's a guy who has a little pop in his bat, so you hope that Easley can contribute that way as well. There's going to be another hit. Crawford will make the turn. Down to second goes Ordonez. Crawford got that one through the infield to extend his hitting streak to 4 to start the year, and the Devil Rays now have 2 men on with nobody out.
Left-handed hitters become high ball hitters against left-handed pitchers, and here's a great example of it. Ball kind of up and in, and watch how tied up Carl Crawford is, but pulls his hands in, takes an alligator arm swing, and a hit.
Here's Rocco Baldelli. Rocco tripled his first time. The Rays left him at third base. He takes the pitch in for a strike.
Dwayne, I think Fossum is most deceptive when he's pitching from the stretch because he's turned sideways towards the hitter, and he's really tough to pick up.
Tough to see him at all.
Yeah.
Foul ball into the seats, and the count is 0-2.
All of a sudden, there's this ball coming at you at the plate if you're a hitter. Like Iron Mike. About 160 pounds, and they say the TV camera puts on about 15, and by that side look, I'm not so sure.
Yep. And Baldelli is out on strikes. That's the first out of the inning. It had some bite to it. 1 away. Don't forget, Sunday the 6th at 1:15, the Rays take on the Yankees. Just present a coupon from the St. Petersburg Times, and you can pick up a lower level outfield ticket, hot dog, snack, and Pepsi, all for just $12. Aubrey Huff with 2 men on. He looks at that fastball at the knees for a strike. Aubrey struck out his first time. Close with the fastball here. One the count. Crawford and Ordonez are the runners. 2-1. Fossum only 25. He is the second youngest player on this Boston roster. Brandon Lyon, who we saw the other night's the youngest at 23. And the breaking ball. Huff lays off to run the count to 3-1.
25 on the Devil Rays roster would make him veteran status.
Yeah, just about. You're right. And the strike, and until the last few days of spring training when the Rays added a couple of veterans, Harry Schumpert being one, and Easley in the lineup today. Damian 33. So the average team age have gone up a bit, but it is a very young club.
I think it's a great mix because you have these veterans who know how to play the game around younger players.
There go the runners, a wave and a miss, and the throw to third is in time. Ordonez cut down to retire the side. Through 3, 5-1 Boston. Trot Nixon leads off the fourth for Boston, trying to check on that pitch from Beerbrot, but he could not, and so Nick has the jump on Nixon. 0-1 the count. Nixon opened the third when the Red Sox sent 9 men to the plate, playing to the advantage of an error and a couple of wild pitches. 1-1. And actually, Beerbrot was on his way to an 18-pitch inning, wound up making 18 additional pitches as a result of the wild pitch in the error. He's ahead of Nixon now, 1-2 strikes.
Well, having said that, he needs a good, clean, and quick pitch inning.
I can see his future now with the rest of the line.
And he starts it by striking out Nixon. So the first out in the fourth inning. Beerbrot picking up his third strikeout.
That's a good look at a good moving fastball. Watch this late finish and sink. Good pitch.
Here's Jason Varitek. Pitch is down. You know, we're talking about diminished velocity. It could be good. And Joe, I mean, you certainly could speak to this because you've made a pretty good living at doing that. But sometimes, I think in two areas, if you diminish your velocity, it may help your control. It's been known to do that, depending on how pitchers try to increase their velocity to begin with. So you can have better control, and you might actually have better finish on your pitches with reduced velocity.
Well, what happens is as you get under control with your delivery, throwing from an effort standpoint at about 85 to 88%, you become more consistent with your release point, and as a result, you're getting the ball out front, you're releasing the ball out front, you're getting the kind of spin on it that you need to have. Anytime that you're throwing at maximum velocity effort-wise at 100%, your sights are off a little bit. You're not throwing as accurately as you would before. So it's nice to have that in reserve when you need to hump up and really get one by the hitter. But ideally, as a starting pitcher, you're not so much pacing yourself, but you're just trying to have a controlled delivery that allows you to become more consistent and repeat that delivery.
There's ball 4. Varitek draws the walk. First walk given up
Center fielder
by Beerbrot.
Johnny Damon.
So Varitek is at first, one gone, and here's Johnny Damon. The pitch is the strike. By the way, all 5 of those runs, despite the error in the 2 wild pitches, all 5 of those runs charged to Beerbrot in the third were earned. The wild pitches, really, as it turned out, were the biggest factor in that inning. The looper into center, and that's going to fall for a base hit. Baldelli charging. Varitek's going to hold at second base on Johnny Damon's looping single into center field.
Second baseman, number 11.
A pitcher cannot benefit in terms of earned runs or unearned runs as a result of a wild pitch, and so Beerbrot, who was charged with 2 of those, then suffers at least the statistical consequences of having allowed earned runs as a result of those wild pitches, and the error on the bad throw by Hall, which allowed Miller to score. Actually, he would have scored anyway as the innings reconstructed with a base hit by Ramirez and Millar's single and Hillenbrand's single and so forth. So all 5 of those runs are earned, charged to Beerbrot's account. So it's going to be Miller up here now with men at first and second and 1 out. Miller doubled home a run in the third, up with 2 men on. Ground ball third, and it gets past Huff into left. Veritek will be held at third by Cubbage, and the bases are going to be loaded. So Miller got one past the diving Huff at third base.
Beerbrod's really going to have to battle now. A couple of good hitters. Hopefully this will be the last one he'll face in the inning in Nomar, and he really needs that double play ball now to stay out of a big inning. You don't want to allow the Red Sox to score any more runs as the Rays try to get back in it early.
So here's Nomar Garciaparra. It's a 5-1 game right now. Garciaparra bats with the bases loaded, and Beerbrod starts him with a strike. Breaking ball over for strike one. Veritek third, Damon at second, Miller aboard at first. 1 ball, 1 strike. Well, the pitches start to mount up, and Jorge Sosa, who was the losing pitcher after working 3 innings here in the 16-inning game on Tuesday. Sosa loosening now. Inside, 2 balls and a strike.
Well, he has to be thinking, here's his ground ball pitch now. 2-1, a very aggressive hitter at the plate. You take a little bit off, get your ground ball.
And right back through the middle, base hit. Veritek will score. Damon's on his way to the plate. Throw is cut off. 2 more runs are home. That makes it 7-1. Couple of runs batted in for Garciaparra. Miller stopped at second on the RBI single to center by Nomar Garciaparra.
It looked like Beerbrod and Toby Hall were trying to go inside on that 2-1 pitch. And I think with the hitter being ahead in the count, that can be problematic going in there, especially when Beerbrod didn't execute with it, left it out over the plate.
Now it's Manny Ramirez. This one is high. 1 ball, no strikes. A walk and 3 consecutive hits, 2 runs in. And this one is down.
Not the guy you want to be facing when you're struggling.
And that pitch count starting to mount. He's closing in on the mid-80s in pitches here with just 1 out in the 4th. Down to third. Huff goes to second, out there and over to first for 2. 5-4-3, and that takes care of Ramirez. 7-1 Boston. Back at Tropicana Field. Bottom of the 4th inning coming up. Wrap-up game of the series against the Red Sox for the Devil Rays. Yankees come in starting tomorrow night. The Aflac trivia question. Which Rays player has the most Major League service time? Speaking of young clubs, that's our Aflac trivia question. Here's Terry Shumpert, the designated hitter. Pitch is down, a ball and no strike. Shumpert hitting cleanup for the first time. Two and 0. Casey Fossum, the recipient of a big lead here. 6 runs as we play in the bottom of the 4th. He promptly falls behind Shumpert 3-0.
Starting pitching really is a study in concentration, and sometimes it takes you out of your concentration mode when your offense scores a bunch of runs. It's great to be the beneficiary of that, but sometimes it takes pitchers a while to get locked back into that same mental acuity that they had in a close game.
Well, Fossum has just walked Shumpert on 4 consecutive pitches. So the Rays have the leadoff man on base, and Travis Lee steps in. After that first one, a fastball, and fouls it back, strike one. He got his first home run here the other night against the Red Sox. Game Tuesday. Fastball tied him up just a little bit. Now that one back. 2 strikes. Shumpert back in at first.
Now they're using that old play with Millar off the bag with a left-handed hitter at the plate. Millar forced to read what Casey Fossum's doing, and he almost got picked off himself.
Just a piece of that one to stay alive. Fossum out of Texas A&M. Up and down over the last couple of years with the Red Sox. And there apparently was some significant interest in Fossum this winter in trade talks.
Well, he's a left-hander with a good breaking ball and a good arm, so I would think the other 29 clubs would have a good interest in him. He is pitched out of the bullpen, really starting to reaffirm in the mind of the Red Sox that he can start. Of course, there used to be a question that because of his slight build, would he have difficulty in becoming tired after about the 60 or 70 pitch mark.
Tap toward third. Hillenbrand gloves and has no play. So Shumpert moves to second, and Travis Lee has an infield hit. So the Rays tried to put up a little bit of a threat in the third after the Toby Hall home run. Have the first 2 men on base here in the 4th inning again.
Well, you get 2 or 3 runs here, and you're feeling that you're right on track to getting back in it. Travis Lee won't have many of those infield hits. I don't think Hillenbrand was able to get a good handle on it in the glove, so he thought better of throwing it.
Well, Damian Easley hitting 6th in the Rays lineup.
I think this is going to be a great addition if he stays healthy.
And the pitch is a strike on the outside corner. Well, you could certainly make a case for circumstances conspiring against Easley over the last couple of years. One, that big ballpark in Detroit, and in a couple injuries, one that right wrist fracture. The fly ball into right. Nixon backed up, now comes on to make the catch, and that's going to be the first out. He had a rib cage injury as well, and last year with that oblique pull missed a good part of the season. So there have been some injuries coupled with a park that did not suit him all that well that would mitigate against him having a good year.
Well, I think he's going to be a good addition because of the pop that he has, the experience. He's a good pivot around the base and turning double plays. I'm just reading from the Tigers media guide, said he appeared in the first 5 games before suffering a trunk strain on April 6th. No doubt eating peanuts.
Here's Grieve, and he sends one back into center field, but Damon is there to make the catch, and the runners return to first and second. So Ben jumped on the first pitch. Damon made the grab. Hey, let's find out the answer to our Aflac trivia question. Aflac, ask about it at work. Which Rays player has the most Major League service time? That's Damian Easley, who comes in with 10 years and 54 days.
And hopefully over that strained trunk, as it were.
Well, here's Toby Hall. This one bouncing in away from Varitek, and the runners will advance to second and third.
Drive in 2 here, and that'd be a good start.
The Rays have both their men in scoring position now as a result of the wild pitch. Toby has accounted for the Devil Ray run with that leadoff homer in the third. Down and in once again. 2-0. Toby did come out of that 16-inning game with a multiple hit night. He had struggled early, and then the last 2 or 3 times up did show some signs of putting things together. He's ahead in the count now, 3-0. And 3 hits in that game. Then Valentine caught last night. Ball back in the lineup with the home run his first time up in this game. Shumpert at third, Lee at second. And there's ball 4. So the bases will be loaded for Ray Ordonez.
The power hitting Ray Ordonez.
He hit the 2-run homer in the 8th inning Tuesday night to tie the game. Already has that first home run out of the way this year. Hit 1 all of last year with the Mets.
Well, that has him on bonus time, and a grand salami right now would be dandy.
And it would give him a commanding lead in the team RBI race. He has 4 right now. Takes the first pitch in for a strike. Little bender in there from Fossum to start this sequence of pitches. Oh, 1 the count. Ordonez singled in the third and was caught stealing to end that inning. And will put him behind in the count, 0-2.
Fossum probably going to try to go to the dirt here with the breaking ball, or set up the breaking ball with a high fastball. What that does is it brings the wild pitch into play, possibly, so he's going to have to be very careful.
And a line drive into left. That's going to be in there. A base hit off the fastball. Shumpert scores. Lee will score. Down to second goes Hall. How about that? An 0-2 fastball, and Ortiz lines it into left to make it 7-3.
Well, you could see after Varitek had gave the signal, and Grady Little not happy about that. He's setting up way outside. Look at this ball just tail right back towards the middle of the plate. Big time mistake there from Casey Fossum.
Well, the Devil Rays make it a 7-3 ball game right there. Let's see if they can build on this. Grady Little.
Well, Grady, I think, disappointed just by the simple math of it. 0-2 count, 2 outs to the number 9 hitter, and it leads to 2 runs.
And Brandon Lyon begins to throw in the bullpen down the left field line. So the Rays with a run in the third, a couple here in the fourth. This one wide, 1-0. Crawford singled in the third. Takes ball 2 away, 2-0. fastball. 2-1. Well, Fossum falling behind Crawford got the fastball past him. And ball 3 blocked by Varitek. So Crawford up 3-1 in the count. And a wave and a miss on a 3-1 fastball. Now the count goes all the way to 3-2. Hauled off second, Ordonez off first on the move. 3-2 and a wave and a miss on the fastball to retire the side. Through 4, 7-3 Boston. 7-3 ball game as we head to the 5th now. Rays and the Bradenton Herald present fantastic Fridays at Tropicana Field. Present a coupon found in the Bradenton Herald for an outfield ticket, hot dog, Pepsi, and a snack for only $12 on Fridays. For info, call 888-FAN-RAYS. That would include tomorrow when the Devil Rays take on the New York Yankees. Jorge Sosa is the new pitcher for the Rays as we go to the 5th. Kevin Millar leads off and sends a shot deep to left field, and this one is out of here. So Millar, on the very first pitch, hits one out. That will make it an 8-3 ball game, and in this case, lightning has just struck twice. Millar hit the home run in the 16th inning here off Sosa on Tuesday to eventually decide that game, and on the first pitch he sees from Sosa here in the 5th today, he hits one out.
Well, as your team's trying to climb back into it, kind of disheartening to give up another run after you just scored 2 in the bottom of the 4th. I guess you could say Millar feels pretty comfortable facing the deliveries of Jorge Sosa.
Hillenbrand takes it for a strike. One ball, one strike. One here to Hillenbrand. Drops it to the right side. Lee with the flip, and Sosa's over there to carry it in to complete the out. Sosa in relief of Beerbrot, who gave up 7 runs on 8 hits in 4 innings. He made 84 pitches. He struck out 3, walked 1. A couple wild pitches and a hit batter in the mix. And what a difference that 3rd inning and the inability to get the final out was on the strikeout and the wild pitch of Garcia Parra. That cost him 18 additional pitches alone in that inning. Here's Giambi taking a pitch for a strike. Giambi is nothing of 2. One ball, one strike.
Well, the key for Jorge Sosa, as Chris Bosio has been working on it the past few days, is really staying a lot taller in his delivery on his back leg and really maximizing that downhill angle. Very good arm strength, can frequently throw into the mid-90s. Here's a look at that delivery. Watch how he kind of sits down a little bit. You see that head really sit down. If he stays a little bit taller and throws more downhill, he's really going to maximize his stuff. And he's also going to be more consistent and not throw those pitches high and out of the strike zone where it looks like he's underneath and pushing the ball.
The count is 2-2 on Giambi. And that fastball is by him. 2 gone.
And that one was at 95 miles an hour. Good hop on it at the end.
2 outs. Now Trot Nixon. Waves over this one, strike 1. Sosa with the club last year as a Rule 5 player. He's been scooped out by Toby Hall. And as it turns out, probably got more time than he thought he might. So in many cases, it was a matter of being thrown into the fire for a guy who has a great arm but has not pitched all that long.
Well, he's still
an outfielder.
I was going to say, Dwayne, he still has a lot of glitches in his delivery to iron out. But with that good arm strength, certainly has a great start. Takes you a while before you start thinking like a pitcher as well.
And a strike. And the count is 2-2. Well, he's got that good fastball, mid-90s, as you pointed out. Slider, and changes up using the split a bit.
I mentioned start thinking like a pitcher, and sometimes that'll cause the position players to become a little concerned because they think pitchers are weird.
There's a line drive, base hit toward the line and right. Grieve will make the pickup, and Nixon's on his way to second with a double. Well, I didn't want to say anything when you said that.
Catcher, number
Well, for you, I can understand it was just understood, but
But there's no question there is a difference in the way the two see life.
Yep. It's like the regular everyday players are saying, you know, if someone is, say, hanging out with a pitcher socially off the field, you're saying, you're hanging around a pitcher? Those guys are nuts.
Well, here's Jason Varitek. The pitch is down and in. 1 ball, no strike. Sometimes other players will say, you're hanging around with a pitcher because no one else will hang with you.
Yep. Yeah, that's that's right. And I think it's frustrating for the everyday players because if they're hanging around a pitcher, they feel a bit inferior because pitchers have always been the best athletes on the field.
Sharply hit ground ball, and Easley's there at second to make the flip to retire the side. Bottom of the 5th coming, 8-3 Boston. 8-3 ball game. Boston leading. We're headed into the home half the 5th. Critics calling the best damn sports show period a hybrid of sports news and sports bar banner. Nothing quite like it on the air tonight. Commissioner Bud Selig stops by. Swimsuit spectacular on the agenda as well, and outrageous Major League Baseball moments. Watch the best damn sports show period tonight at 8 and 10 right here on Fox Sports Net. That's quite a collection of topics right there.
Well, it's only 2 topics because the 2 front topics are actually the same. It's Bud Selig in a swimsuit,
which would be
not spectacular,
perhaps the most outrageous Major League Baseball moment.
Yep. Bud has quite a collection of Speedos that he's going to be donning.
And you don't want to miss that.
Yep. Now that's a tease for the show if there ever was one, isn't there?
1 ball, 1 strike. Triple first time up for Baldelli. He's hit safely in 4 straight. Backhanded by Garcia Power, and the throw is just in time. Very close over there. Baldelli had those 3 infield hits the other night and almost beat this one out.
I think Nomar Garciaparra makes this throw into the hole about as well as anyone. Watch this slingshot and getting a lot on it. A lot of arm strength going the other way, and he's always had a very strong arm from that slot. That 3/4 sidearm slot really gets a lot on it, and he certainly did there.
Aubrey Huff leans away from the high breaking ball. Aubrey nothing of 2 in this one against the lefty. Fossum throws the breaking ball for a strike there. It's a little softer than some of the others we've seen.
It was more of the get me over strike breaking ball. It was the hard one.
The count is now 1-2. Interesting breakdown right there. He's at 77 pitches right now. So we're into 325 territory. He comes back with a 93-mile-per-hour fastball, though, and strikes out Huff.
Well, that had to look really quick after the off-speed breaking ball, then the hard breaking pitch, and then climbing right upstairs with the heater. I guess the question last year when Fossum started was he going to be able to be strong enough after 60 to 70 pitches? And that graphic shows you that he becomes more hittable.
Terry Shumpert takes this one high. 1 ball, no strikes. One and 1 to count.
It's a little strike breaking ball he's throwing there where he just kind of slows everything down and just frisbees it up there, reminiscent of Bill the Spaceman Lee. He used to do that with the Red Sox quite some time ago.
So it's going to be foul and out of play. So the count's a ball, 2 strikes. Baldelli grounded out on a close play at first, and then Fossum struck out Aubrey Huff. Shumpert got a little piece of that one. Shumpert walked in the 4th inning. Scored one of the 2 runs the Rays picked up in that frame. And Pittsburgh beat Cincinnati 7-5. The Reds still looking for a win in their new home park. Ground ball headed to short. Garcia Parra makes this play. We're through 5, 8-3 Boston. Johnny Damon, the top side of Grady Little's lineup, leads off the 6th for Boston. Jorge Sosa on the mound for the Rays. 1 ball, no strikes. 2-0. Damon singled and scored in the 4th inning. Grounded out and lined out. Actually had a tough time against Beerbroth the first couple times up. Beerbroth broke his bat in the 3rd. Here against Sosa in the 6th. He's ahead in the count 3-0. Three balls and a strike. There's ball 4 to start the inning. Well, the Rays got 4 from Beerbroth. They'd like a couple quick innings from the bullpen with an eye toward getting that bullpen back in order for the Yankee series, which starts tomorrow.
Well, you have a 16 inning affair where you use all your pitchers, all the bullpen. It sometimes can take you like a week to really get back on track.
Bill Miller fouls one back, strike 1.
Especially if you have a couple of other games where you have to use those guys again right out of the box a day or 2 later. Chris Bosio knows all about that.
And today's Bosio's birthday. 40 years old today.
Happy birthday, Boz.
Fly ball, well tagged back into center field. Baldelli to the track and had it in his glove, couldn't hold it. Damon will go to 3rd. Into second base goes Miller. Miller hit that ball a ton back into center field. Baldelli appeared to have it in his glove but could not corral it.
Part of the growing process in center field for Rocco Baldelli. This ball was tailing back towards left center field, you see it presented a little problems. When you're making that adjustment, sometimes you tend to bounce a little bit on your heels, and when you do that, your eyes bounce around a little bit as well, which is probably why it landed in the heel of his glove, didn't catch it solidly.
Well, there's Nomar Garcia-Parra with 2 men in scoring position. Comes out swinging as he normally does and fouls one away. Strike one. Garcia-Parra picked up those 2 runs batted in with a single in the 4th. Down to third. The throw to first, and the runners remain at second and third with 1 out. As we mentioned, the Yankees are in tomorrow night. They'll start a weekend series here. We'll be with you on Fox Sports Net beginning at 7 o'clock. Saturday's game on PAX TV 66. It'll be 6 o'clock, and then the afternoon game Sunday. Baltimore coming in starting Tuesday. David Wells scheduled to pitch for New York tomorrow against Steve Paris for the Rays. Well, an intentional pass coming here to Andy Ramirez with men at second and third. And Kevin Millard due. So with Ramirez up there and first base open, the Rays will load him. So a tough spot for the Rays and Jorge Sosa. Kevin Millar on deck has homered on the last 2 pitches he has seen from Jorge Sosa. One coming Tuesday night and one today.
And having said that, the law is definitely now in the favor of Jorge Sosa. Law of averages.
Well, Lou Piniella had said earlier his job as a manager is to put his club in the best percentage situation. I'm not sure he had this one in mind.
I think you're right. By the way, you mentioned the pitching matchup. David Wells pitching tomorrow night for the Yankees, and he's offering to sign anyone's book in the left field bullpen before the game during his warm-ups. So bring your book and Boomer will sign it.
Here's Kevin Millar. The pitch to him is too high. 1 ball, no strike. So that's going to work out very well. That's a strike. 1-1 the count. Millar with the 5th inning home run and an RBI single in the 3rd. So a couple of RBIs and 2 runs scored for Millar. Two and one. They're brought for 4. Sosa working his 2nd inning. You saw the lefty Venable busy in the bullpen. And there's a shot up the right side. That ball is going to be 1 hop into the fence. Damon scores. Miller scores. Over to third goes Ramirez. And Millar has just doubled home 2 more. Well, he continues to own Jorge Sosa. So it's now a 10-3 ball game.
Well, you're right, Dwayne. Everything he has hit off Sosa past few games has been nothing but a bolt. 2 home runs, very well struck double into the gap and right there.
Sosa's given up 4 hits since coming on, 3 doubles and the home run. Here's Shea Hillenbrand. Hillenbrand single home 2 runs in the 3rd. Strike. Meanwhile, with Giambi due next, Venafro stays busy down there. Not exactly working out the way Lou Piniella and Chris Bosio would like insofar as utilizing pitchers. Shot to right field. Grieve going back to the track for it, makes the catch. The tag third by Ramirez. He will score. Moving into third is Millar as Hillenbrand drives in his third run. This one with a sacrifice fly, and it's now 11-3. So Hillenbrand drives in another one, and Lou Piniella is on his way to the mound. Giambi is due, and the Devil Rays make an Aflac pitching change. Mike Venefro's the new pitcher for the Rays, pitcher number 3 on the day. Sosa worked an inning and 2/3 in relief of Bierbrot. So a man at third, inherited by Venefro. And he faces Jeremy Giambi. Pitch in there for a strike.
Venefro is not just your left-handed specialist. He can be successful against the right-handed hitters as well. So I think Lou Piniella is going to give Venefro an extended outing this afternoon.
Yeah, Giambi out in front a bit as he fouled that one, and the count is 0-2. Venefro, one of the late additions to the roster coming out of spring training. A ball, 2 strikes. Foul outside of first. And a wave and a miss. He takes care of Giambi, and that retires the side. 11-3 Boston.
Number 16, Travis Luke.
Bottom half of the 6th coming. 11-3 Boston out in front. Speed, pain, and glory. You'll find it all on the groundbreaking new show 5-4-3-2-1 on Fox Sports Net. From the slopes to the surf to the dirt, the hottest extreme sports and competitions from around the world on 5-4-3-2-1 today at 5:30. Brandon Lyon takes over on the hill following the left-hander Casey Fossum. Travis Lee takes the first pitch, a fastball outside.
Lyon coming over from the Blue Jays, and good arm strength, pitched very well for the Red Sox in the second game of this series.
There's a base hit off the fastball. Single into right. Travis Lee is aboard. That's his second hit of this game.
He's been swinging the bat well in this young season.
Here's Damian Easley. Easley 0 for 2. He's fouled the first and lifted a fly ball into right. It's too low. 1 ball, no strikes.
Dwayne, you chronicled the struggles of Damian Easley in Comerica Park, but he sure swings the bat well at the Trop.
Boy, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Some great numbers here, which might be another good reason for him to be here.
Sure. Lifetime .520 hitter.
No Yankees game.
Well, he's facing the right-hander Brandon Lyon with a runner at first and 1 out here in the 6th.
I think it also, excuse me, Dwayne, bodes well for the Devil Rays. Easily being released by the Tigers with a lot of money left on his contract, and any player that I know is going to take that as a huge affront. So he has a lot to prove. To want to reestablish himself.
This one is down, and the count goes to 3-1. Well, that set a record for money owed and a released player. So the Rays down here today, 11-3. 3-1 the count on Easley. And there's ball 4, so he draws the walk. Well, we've seen a few surprises here in the first 3, now 4 days of the season. One thing has not been surprising is how aggressive the Rays have been, and that's been reflected pretty much in every club Lou Piniella's had. And you can see on the Gatorade League leaderboard, the Rays entering this game with 8 stolen bases, and there'll be a lot more of that to come as this homestand and the season plays itself out. Here's Ben Grieve with 2 men on. He takes a strike.
In fact, Dwayne, the Rays were thrown out for just the first time this afternoon. Ordonez earlier in the ball game at third base. 8 stolen bases for the Rays. Only 11 stolen bases of the other teams in the American League combined.
Inside, 1 ball, 1 strike. Of course, the Rays, when you look in that lineup with Crawford and Baldelli at the top of the order, Ordonez has the capability of stealing a base. So they do have some people who can run a little bit. Chop right side. Millar will make the play unassisted. So Grieve is the first out. The runner is advanced to second and third. Well, this kind of gives you an idea. Last year, the Rays were 15 games into the season before they had 8 stolen bases. And I think part of, number one, Lou Piniella loves to be aggressive with his ball club, but given the offensive makeup, he knows that sometimes he's going to have to try to create something offensively, and the running game will be part of that. Here's Toby Hall. Takes it down. A ball, no strikes.
Plus, I think there's a lot of teams in the American League that don't catch the ball as well as they should. And if you're running, taking the extra base and speed in the lineup, I think that's going to present a lot of trouble for the rest of the AL.
There's the strike, and the count is 1-1. Well, the Rays in this opening series with Boston, they have shown that they can be aggressive and will battle back. And we've also seen some mistakes that have cost them in the couple of games they've lost coming into this one. 2 balls and a strike. And the type of mistakes, a base running mistake the other night in that extra inning game, that may have ultimately given the Devil Rays a chance to win the game had that mistake not been made. And then, a couple of wild pitches and an error in this game. 3 balls and a strike, and some of the mistakes that they will try to iron out as the season continues. 3-1 the count. Because given the fact that they are not a power-laden offensive team, they're going to have to be very good in other areas. That walk will load the bases. They're just not going to be able to afford to beat themselves. So if they can cut down on the mistakes, then you figure on top of being aggressive, and if they can play pretty good defensive baseball, then they're going to be in a lot of games. Well, the bases are loaded here for the Rays with only 1 out in the 6th inning. And Ray Ordonez is due up. Brandon Lyon gets a visit. Red Sox added 3 runs in the top of this inning. 7 runs off Beerbrot and 4 runs off Sosa. Well, a couple of runs batted in, 2 hits for Ordonez so far in this game. He takes the first pitch down, 1 ball, no strikes. Ordonez singled home 2 runs in the 4th when he was up there with the bases loaded. He's out after this one, and the count is 1-1. Into left center field. Giambi and Damon on the run, and Damon got it. Tag at third by Lee. He's going to score. The other runners hold at first and second. That's the 3rd RBI of the game for Ordonez, and will make it an 11-4 ball game.
Johnny Damon's really made some nice plays in this series. A couple of diving catches, and that was another nice play. Had a long way to run. Caught that to his glove side. A little easier, but still well done.
Now Carl Crawford chops it to the shortstop. Garciaparra with a flip to second to retire the side. 11-4 through 6. In the 7th inning, Trot Nixon steps in for the Boston Red Sox. Mike Venepro on the mound for the Rays. Venepro struck out Giambi to end the 6th. And he starts the 7th by throwing Nixon a strike. Played in. The fastball, and the count is 1-1. Breaking ball is fouled away. Seth McClung throwing in the bullpen for the Rays.
The big animal begins to loosen.
And a foul up the left side and out of play. Nixon will be 28 years old soon. Fouls this one. The Red Sox have really liked him, and last year he drove in 94 runs. It seems over the last year and a half, they have expected him to have one of those big breakout years.
Well, he can play center field. He can play right field. Basically has that middle linebacker's mentality and playing baseball.
Chop to the right side. Travis Lee with the flip to Venepro, and that takes care of Nixon. One away here in the 7th inning. Let's take a look at the Briggs and Stratton moment of the game, courtesy of Kevin Millar, who belted a leadoff home run in the 5th inning. The first pitch delivered from Jorge Sosa. It was Millar who decided the game the other night with a home run in the 16th inning when he connected off Sosa. Connecting again today.
I've had several Briggs and Stratton moments, and they were of my youth. Get out there and mow the lawn or you're grounded. Briggs and Stratton hours more like it than moments.
0-1 the count. 1 ball, 1 strike. I just can't imagine that they would have to force you to mow the lawn. Being the dutiful son that I'm sure you were.
Growing up in Kentucky, had to cut the bluegrass.
This one outside and low. Better than growing up in Wisconsin, I guess.
Yeah, well, maybe not.
2 balls and a strike. Veritek has doubled and walked and scored twice. Through the hole on the left side, and a base hit. He's on for the 3rd time.
Center fielder, number 18, Johnny Damon.
It's going to bring along Johnny Damon.
The pride, as they say, of Dr. Phillips High School in Orlando.
Absolutely.
I think the young budding PGA Tour golfer Ty Tryon is from that very same high school.
There's a strike, but to this point, Johnny Damon remains their biggest link to fame.
Right, but Ty Tryon has already had his breakout year.
0-1 to count. A ball and a strike with Veritek at first and 1 away. Red Sox have 13 hits today. Toward the left field line, Crawford running a direct route, cannot get there. It's a foul ball. Well, Crawford made a great bid over there. Ball just out of his reach in foul territory.
He showed kind of a frustrating reaction, like he thought that he should have closed the gap on that. That ball slicing away from him and a long way away from him.
He's just young enough to think he should catch everything.
And that's great. I mean, we're starting to see some plays that
we have not seen before.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, we will out of some of these young players here. There's a little popper. It's going to carry out a play. Holding the count right there at 1-2. Well, that speed and the athletic ability that Carl Crawford brings to the ballpark every day will be well utilized. Damon hanging in there again, fouling 1 away.
Not a good day for the starting pitching for the Rays, but I think there's a lot to look forward to. You have 3 left-handed starters in the rotation: Kennedy, Beerbrot, and Jim Parquet. And great fielding on the left side of the field. Speed in center with Rocco, and in left in Carl Crawford. And also you've got a great fielding shortstop. So I think where the left-handers tend to get most of their outs on the left side of the field, I think it bodes very well defensively for the Rays.
Ordonez, a 3-time Gold Glove winner at short. And they finally get Damon. Well, Venefro just kept feeding him those pitches. He broke one off there, and Damon is out on strikes. Second strikeout for Venefro. 2 away with a runner on for Bill Miller. And there's a pitch in there for a strike. Miller's the guy who hit that ball back into center field and went for a double. While Deli went back all the way to the track and had the ball on the heel of the glove and could not hold it. That's a strike. 0-2.
Well, you have to believe with the delivery of Mike Venefro that he would be very good at skipping rocks across a lake. That's the perfect motion for it.
Inside right there, 1 ball, 2 strikes. Two and 2. Veritek off first, 2 gone, and the 2-2. Chop right side, Lee with a flip back to Venefro to retire the side. Bottom of the 7th coming, 11-4 Boston.
Baseball fans.
Headed into the home half of the 7th inning from Tropicana Field this afternoon. Let's present a coupon from the Bradenton Herald for Fantastic Fridays at Tropicana Field. That coupon found in the Herald for an outfield ticket, hot dog, Pepsi, and a snack, all for just $12 on Fridays. For info, call 888-FAN-RAISE. It starts tomorrow when the New York Yankees are in. One strike to count to Rocco Baldelli. He chases this one and is behind in the count, 0-2.
And I'm sure tomorrow we'll get a chance to see several of the Yankee hooligan fans who represent themselves in large numbers when the Yanks come to town.
And at least a good part of them attempting to get David Wells to autograph his book.
That's right. He'll be signing autographs of his new autobiography tomorrow before the game, in between warm-up pitches. So bring your book, get it signed by the Boomer.
Count remains 2 strikes on Baldelli. Steve Paris pitches against David Wells tomorrow. That's a 7:15 first pitch. And Joe Kennedy and Jeff Weaver here on Saturday. In Sunday's game, Victor Zambrano against Roger Clemens. Here's the matchup tomorrow. We'll be with you on Fox Sports Net beginning at 7 o'clock.
Steve Paris has been kind of low-key. It's almost like it's been easy to forget Paris.
Foul out of play. Well, that's a very common sentiment recently.
Yeah, it certainly is. I'm all for forgetting Paris.
Yep.
So Steve, we like Steve. He's a veteran pitcher. Knows what he's doing. He's going to help these youngsters out a lot. And hopefully he'll have the hot hand tomorrow night.
1-2 the count. Baldelli. And a chopper back to the middle, and there's a base hit into center. Rocco Baldelli picking up his 2nd hit of this contest. Well, we've seen a lot to like in both these young outfielders, Crawford and Baldelli.
And both of them seem to have those baseball instincts that you look for and really seem to get it.
There's Aubrey Huff. Ground ball back to the hill. Back to 2nd one and over to 1st. It skips past Millar. No, Baldelli's forced at 2nd. 1-6 on that force play back there as Huff is alive on a fielder's choice.
Baldelli went in there hard at 2nd base. Nomar is sometimes he can have the ball get away from him, and it did again. That's a made-to-order double play.
You know, I wonder.
A throwing motion. You wonder if that's seems to get over the top of it. I think in an effort to get elevation with Baldelli sliding there, got on top of the ball and sunk it right into the ground.
Number 9, Martin.
Well, Al Martin will now pinch hit for Shumpert. You know, the Red Sox, as they do every year, I mean, they hope to compete with the Yankees in the American League's Eastern Division. And, you know, it's going to be kind of interesting watching this club. Al Martin lifts a high fly ball into left field. Galvi's out there to make the catch. You know, I wonder, Joe, as I've seen this Red Sox ball club, they're a good ball club. There's no question about that. It's not to cast any aspersions on this club, but, you know, they may not be as good a defensive team as they would like.
Well, you're right. I think they're going to have to score a lot of runs. You can see areas like at 2nd base, Todd Walker not blessed with a tremendous amount of range or quickness. Manny Ramirez, trouble in left.
Lee pops it into short left. Garcia Parra out there to make a nice running play on that one to retire the side. Through 7, 11-4 Boston. On to the 8th here at Tropicana Field. Critics calling the best damn sports show period the hybrid of sports news and sports bar banner. Lineup tonight featuring Commissioner Bud Selig, swimsuit spectacular and outrageous MLB moments. Best damn sports show period tonight at 8 and 10 here on Fox Sports Net. Seth McClung, the new Rays pitcher. Omar Garcia-Parra goes after the first pitch he sees and towers it deep to center and gone. Garcia-Parra jumped on the first offering from McClung and hits it out to dead center. Well, Sosa was greeted by Millar back in the 5th when Millar hit the first pitch he saw out. Garcia-Parra hits the first pitch delivered from McClung and gets it out to center field.
Seth was just trying to get strike one, middle, and Nomar ever the aggressive hitter.
It's now 12-4, and here's Manny Ramirez. 1 ball, no strikes. Two and nothing. So McClung touched for the home run. Garcia-Parra's first home run of the year. Two and one.
Of course, he got the W on opening night, pitching very well.
The 2-1. Oh, and outside. We go to 3 balls and a strike on Manny Ramirez. Foul, that's going to be out of play. Kevin Millar will be next. Well, the Red Sox with 12 runs today. They were second only to the Yankees in runs scored last year. So they figure to score some runs this season, as we have seen today.
Well, we were talking about it, Dwayne. I think they're going to have a difficult time catching the ball.
That may be a problem for them. Not only catching it, but in some cases getting to the ball. You know, I mean, I don't know what their error totals will be. I mean, there's a guy, Johnny Damon, who can run the ball down in center field, and he's a plus for them in that regard. They will have a use for all the runs they're capable of scoring.
They typically fielded over the years a big, slow, plodding lineup that's just playing pepper with the left field green monster in Fenway. Just swinging for the fences. Might as well put a keg in the dugout, and sometimes it looks like softball.
This is outside a bit. 2 balls, no strikes.
Speaking of that, Millar seems to have really bulked up in the offseason.
He's hit a couple out here against the Rays in this series. Two and one.
You have to believe the Red Sox have somewhat of a heavy heart and are going to play this season without the presence, the very large presence of one Rich Garces. El Guapo.
He retired and was a big part of this bullpen.
Huge part of the bullpen.
2-1 the count. And it goes to 2-2.
And with the retirement of Rich Garces, as we look at one of our cameramen, Frankie, who will be with us all year. Should I have mentioned his name now? People are going to say, hey, I didn't get my name mentioned, but it's a long season.
And a long drive off the bat of Millar back to the track goes Crawford, and he makes the catch just in front of the track for the out. Well, it'll be interesting to see what kind of power year Millar has.
I think he's going to like the Green Monster a lot.
That's the first out of the inning. And now it's Shea Hillenbrand. And it's down. 1 ball, no strikes. Well, you know, the Red Sox were very good against left-handers last year. Matter of fact, that's one of the areas in which they excelled. When they saw a left-handed starter, they were 24-12. And they had 7 runs in 4 innings today off Nick Bierbrod and 7 runs in 5 innings last night off Jim Parquet.
I bet if you would focus that statistic more and say left-handers at Fenway Park, they were even better. Lefties typically have a hard time there at Fenway.
Pop foul. Toby Hall after this one. 4 out, number 2.
In fact, Red Sox left-handed pitchers have not had a lot of success there. You go back to Bruce Hurst, who had some good years with the Sox, John Tudor as well, and then you have to take it, I think, all the way back to what, Mel Parnell?
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
There's Jeremy Giambi.
The spaceman Bill Lee had some good years.
1-0 the count. Well, the Red Sox continue to chase that elusive World Series championship. It's been, I think, 83 years since they have had a complete celebration. Blocked by Toby Hall, and the count is 2-0.
World champions in 1903. By my math, that's 100 years ago.
Two balls, no strikes, the count. High drive. Deep back into center. Baldelli's there and makes the catch on this one. We'll go to the bottom of the 8th. 12-4, Boston.
Attention, please. For Boston.
12-4, we're headed into the bottom of the 8th inning here as the Double Rays and the Red Sox conclude their 4-game series. These seniors joined the official seniors fan club of the Double Rays. The Silver Rays receive a free t-shirt, tote bag, and free admission to 3 Rays senior day games and discounts at Bay Area businesses. For info, call 888-FAN-RAYS and ask about the Silver Rays. Damian Jackson enters the game, taking over at shortstop. New pitcher as well. There's Bobby C. loosening in the bullpen for the Devil Rays up the right field side, and Bob Howry takes over on the mound for the Red Sox. He follows Fossum and Lyon. Fossum for 5 and Brandon Lyon for a couple. Damian Easley to face Howry. And a chop down to third. Hillenbrand still in the dirt and dug out by Millar. That's the first out in the bottom of the 8th inning.
Number 18, Ben Reed.
There's Ben Grieve. Grieve is nothing of 3. Pitch is down. 1 ball and no strikes.
Well, you're talking about the Red Sox and celebrations and championships. They came very close in 1986. In Game 6, Roger Clemens was was pulled, and of course you know what happened after that. I wonder now that Fish is quietly living back home in Waterloo, Iowa, if he'd be willing to say why Roger Clemens came out of that game.
Probably not.
He says every year they ask me, every year in the offseason he gets 2, 3, 4 calls from writers trying to get to the bottom of that. When John McNamara was managing, Fish was the pitching coach on that Red Sox American League championship team in 1986, and the Fish aren't biting. He is still not going to reveal what happened.
Ball 3 to Grieve. It's 3-1. Well, it's been a while for the Red Sox. They beat the Cubs in the 1918 World Series in 6 games.
Losing pitcher in that game was Jesse Orozco.
There's ball 4. You know, the amazing thing about that, and we've touched on it before, the last game of that World Series, won by the Red Sox, took 1 hour and 46 minutes to play.
Was that a lot of Tinkers to Evers to Chance for the Cubs?
A 2-1 ball game. Toby Hall takes a strike.
I remember Bob Gibson used to throw a lot of sub-2-hour ball games with the Cardinals.
As a matter of fact, every game in that 1918 World Series was less than 2 hours. High popper into short center. Jackson out there. Can't hold it. Now, who's going to cover second? Nobody, as Howry trying to get there, and Grieve moves up. No, Toby Hall popped that one into short center. That's going to go as a base hit, as Jackson couldn't hold it.
Well, your natural instinct as a pitcher, your job to back up bases, and when both infielders going out into the shallow part of center field, your job is to cover second base, and Howry is just eyeballing it, thinking it's going to be routine because he's not on second. No out to be had.
Here's Ray Ordonez. Ordonez has 3 runs batted in this game for the Rays. Pitch is down, 1 ball and no strikes. A couple of hits and a sacrifice fly for Ordonez today. Two and 0. Fastball and a strike. Red Sox went from 1918, when they beat the Cubs in the World Series, until 1946. Before they appeared in another World Series. That one against the Cardinals. The Cardinals won that one. And then against the Cardinals again in '67. And the Cardinals won that in 7. High fly ball into right. And Nixon is there to make the catch. And in regard to your comment about Gibson, you know, the Cardinals scored 7 runs to beat the Red Sox 7-2 in Game 7. Gibson pitched that game, also hit a home run in that game, and all of that took 2 hours and 23 minutes.
Of course, I seem to remember the famous downhill skier Jim Lonborg played a huge role in that World Series, did he not?
He played a big role in that whole year, that miracle year in '67 for the Red Sox. Crawford takes a strike. 2 outs here with 2 men on.
Jim Lonborg, now a very successful dentist, and no doubt has all his appointments booked at 2:30.
2 strikes the count. Lonborg had won Game 5 of that series and came back to pitch Game 7. And the Cardinals and Gibson beat the Red Sox 7-2. There's a base hit into center field for Crawford. Greaves on his way to the plate. He's going to score. The Devil Rays pick up their 5th run as Carl Crawford picks up a run batted in, his 4th of the year already. That's his 2nd hit today.
Another 2 hits today for Carl Crawford, and this game is somewhat of a blowout right now with the Rays trailing 12-5, but still a lot of experience can be garnered by Carl Crawford and Rocco Baldelli.
Rocco Baldelli, he has 2 hits today as well. Pitch outside on the corner. So Grieve, who walked, has scored. Hall's at second. Crawford driving in the run with that base hit to center. Go fouls one back. He's behind in the count.
Rocco Baldelli. Now that's a big league name.
The 0-2. Wave and a miss on the fastball to retire the side through 8. It's 12-5. On to the 9th inning. Bobby C. takes over on the mound. Pitcher number 5 for the Rays this afternoon. Trot Nixon leads off. Has himself a base hit. Punch right back through the middle. Hit number 2 for Nixon. So he's aboard. That's going to bring up Jason Varitek. He's the subject of our Pennzoil protection play in the 3rd. Varitek behind the plate. And a strike him out, throw him out, double play, Huff out on strikes, and Ordonez out at 3rd, caught stealing. Brought to you by Pennzoil. We're driving protection. Varitek has been on base 3 times, 2 hits and a walk. One of those hits a double, and there's a base hit toward the gap in left center field. Baldelli will cut it off. That's going to be 2 bases. So 2 pitches, 2 hits, and the Red Sox have men at 2nd and 3rd. That's a 3-hit day for Varitek.
Center fielder, number 18, Charlie Tendon.
Varitek swinging a hot bat as of late. Had a long home run in last night's game. Off the C ring.
Well, Johnny Damon, top of the order. Nobody out. Didn't take long for C to find himself in a bit of a spot. Just 2 pitches. Foul ball, out of play, strike 1. 7 runs off Bierbrot in 4 innings. 4 runs in an inning and 2/3 against Sosa. Mike Venafro pitched an inning and a 1/3 of scoreless baseball. Seth McClung gave up the 1 run on the Garcia Parra home run in 1 inning, and now the Rays have the lefty Bobby C in there. 1-1 the count on Damon.
Bobby will be used predominantly as a left-handed specialist this year in the latter stages of the game, but C is in rough waters right now.
Line drive into right. Grieve is there to make the catch. Nixon tags. He will score. Over to 3rd goes Varitek. That's a sacrifice fly, and that makes it 13-5.
Second baseman, number 11, Bill Miller.
So Damon drives in the run. And here's Bill Miller. Miller lifts a high foul out of play for a strike. He has 3 hits today. Let's see, Damon with a run batted in. Miller has an RBI. Garcia Parra 3. 1 run scored on the error. Millar with 4 runs batted in. And Hillenbrand has 3 for Boston. 1-1 the count here on Miller. Ordonez has led the offense for the Rays with 3 runs batted in. Down to short. Ordonez has this one. His throw to first as Varitek crosses the plate with the 14th run of the day for Boston. So the Red Sox with a leadoff single and a double get both of those men in. 2 outs with the bases empty, and Damian Jackson now bats for the first time. Jackson took over at shortstop for Garcia Parra in the 8th. There's a strike. The Rays and the Red Sox wrapping up their 4-game series with the New York Yankees coming in starting tomorrow night. Steve Paris and David Wells will be the pitching matchup in the first game of that series.
How are you?
Well, the Yankees got into town about 4 in the morning last night from Toronto. They're already in town awaiting the game tomorrow, off today.
There is strike 3 call. Jackson out of there. So we'll go into the bottom of the 9th. 14-5 Boston. Red Sox started their offensive outburst with a 5-run third. They have built a 14-5 lead going into the bottom of the 9th inning. Bob Howry, the 3rd Boston pitcher, following Casey Fossum and Brandon Lyon. Rays did pick up a run in the 8th inning, driven home by Carl Crawford off Howry. So here's Aubrey Huff to lead off the bottom of the 9th. A ball, no strikes. Aubrey is 0 for 4 in this game. Rays have 10 hits. The Red Sox 16. One and one the count. Barehanded by Jackson, and he makes the throw, dug out by Millar. How do you like that?
How do you like that? I don't know that that was necessary. Aubrey Huff, not what you would call fleet of foot. He had plenty of time to make this play. But as Al McGuire used to say, that one had a lot of French pastry on it. Or should I say just pastry?
And there's the first pitch to Martin. In there for a strike. Al pinch hit in the 7th inning and hit a fly ball into left. Down to first. Howry's going to have to cover. Safe at first base. By the time Millar and Howry hooked up for that one, Martin had beaten the throw in.
Well, Bobby Howry has not covered second base in the last inning, and now late to cover first base. That will draw the ire of not only the pitching coach, but more importantly, the manager, regardless of the score.
Now Travis Lee. Takes one down. 1 ball, no strikes. Lee with a couple hits. goes Martin into second base uncontested. Playing behind him, and so they gave him the base and he took it. Now Martin down at second right now. 2-0 the count on Lee. Howery, part of the group the Red Sox are counting on to close games this year. 2 balls and a strike. 29-year-old right-hander. He's down there with the veteran Mike Timlin, Ramiro Mendoza, the left-hander Embry, and the right-hander Chad Fox. A 2-2 count.
Well, in the opener, that home run, game-winning walk-off home run by Carl Crawford, hanging slider from Chad Fox, referred to in New England the next day as the hanging Chad. Aptly said, I think.
Yep. 3 balls and 2 strikes here to Travis Lee.
There's Alan Embry. And there's Chad.
Three-2 lifted into center. Damon is on for this one to make the catch. So 2 away with Martin still at second base. And Damian Easley will be up there. Easley in the lineup with the Rays for the first time today. Playing second base and hitting 6th. Nothing of 3 with a base on balls so far.
Good time to get your first Devil Ray hit. Get it out of the way.
Easley joined the club last night. Brent Abernathy optioned to Durham. 1-0 the count. Jason Tyner, who had been at Durham, was designated for assignment. Foul right back into the screen. 1-1. A 1-1 count. There's a liner out to second base, caught by Miller, and that will do it. For the Rays in the 9th, they leave a man, and the Red Sox take this one 14-5 the final. We'll be back in a moment. Well, it's all over at Tropicana Field. The Red Sox have beaten the Devil Rays 14-5 the final. Took 2 hours and 54 minutes to play this one. Casey Fossum, the winning pitcher. Nick Beerbroth, the losing pitcher. Rays stranded 10, the Red Sox 7. Now the Rays will open a series tomorrow night against the New York Yankees. We'll be with you on Fox Sports Net beginning at 7 o'clock. Back on PAX on Saturday night and Sunday afternoon against the Yankees as well. Now for Joe McGrain and the rest of our crew, our award-winning crew, by the way, this is Dwayne Stats. Hope you've enjoyed the telecast, if not the outcome. Again, the final, Boston 14 and the Rays 5. So long.